Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 3 assignments. I'm going to apologize in advance because I have the flu, so I'm going to sound kind of funny. So for week 3, you have a big project. You have a big project in 3 and 5. So for week 3, you're using you're using a scenario here. And you have to create a PowerPoint. So what you're going to do is talk about a scenario where you're getting complaints about communications to employees, meetings and timing of messages. So what your assignment is to develop a PowerPoint on communication. And here are the bullet points you want to address. Now, the main detail of the presentation are in the notes section. Do not put all your information on slides. So this is kind of like a situation where your notes would be what you would say, and the bullets on the slides would be summary bullets about the main ideas and supportive graphics. So please do not put all your information on the slides. You need a 12 to 15 slide PowerPoint. The last slide should be a reference slide. Everything should be sources should be cited in APA format. If you're wondering where you would put in-text citations, put them in the notes area where most of your text will be. So think of it like this, and I'll have an example PowerPoint in the excuse me, on the announcement board. Most of what you would say, or like it would be written kind of like a paper or an essay format paper, but all that information would be in the notes area of your PowerPoint, and then in the slides you'd have summary bullets of those points. So let's say you wrote, for your first slide, you wrote like, I don't know, 3 paragraphs in your notes area. Then you'd have a summary bullet point for each of those paragraphs on the slide itself. So make sure it's professional looking. Use what you know about PowerPoint, effective PowerPoints. Don't use too many graphics, but you use graphics that support. If you do use graphics or use it the type, use them that excuse me, use the kind of graphics that will support or be relatable to the content that you're presenting. Use kind of, don't think about your audience, and when you're making the presentation, what kind of, colors, background schemes would make it easier for people like in the back of the room to see. So think about those things. Just try to know your audience when you're making your presentation. And if you are not too sure about that, also remember the 10-20-30 rule. You can look that up. That is also important. That's usually in the business communications class, but you're carrying it on to this because this is still a communications class and you're making a presentation, for example. So just kind of go back to that as well. Excuse me. So for these points here, you're going to assess at least 5 communication problems that organizations and leaders face in general. Justify at least 5 best practices for organization-wide messages. Propose at least 5 key principles for conducting meetings. Defend 3 ideas is the most important thing a leader must do for effective one-on-one discussions with employees. Evaluate the benefits of your organization's top leadership team adopting the principles and practices you are recommending, and the consequences of failing to adopt those principles and practices. So for these, you're kind of doing some research, reading, your own textbook reading. But please go outside of the box of this class and, do some research in the library or some credible sources, credible business resources that you can find online. Again, I'm sorry about my voice. It's the best I can do for now. I'm in a full-blown flu today. I went to the doctor, and I've got it. It's been going around a lot, so if you have any questions or you don't understand something I said in this presentation, just email me or text me, and I'll clarify it in a text or in written form. I just make videos for every week, and I'm not going to be able to do any better than this because if I wait, it'll be too late for this video to help you, so I'm sorry. I'm going to go to the discussion as well. For your discussion, we're going to talk about nonverbal communication. So you're going to do some research on nonverbal communication, and you're going to talk about maybe a situation where you have experienced poor nonverbal, one that's not very good at communicating, maybe offered some nonverbal cues that could have contradicted what the person was saying, or just made you think, for example, they weren't paying attention to you, something like that. Provide a summary details about a situation where you had this happen. And then select one of the bullets. Again, just one of these, not both. Tell me why you felt that manager or leader wasn't listening, if that's the case. And, just kind of what I just talked about. And then what could the manager, or what could the manager do to improve his or her active listening skills and body language in conversations? What would you have done differently if you were in their shoes? And also make sure that when you answer these questions, you have at least some kind of reference or research that you've used, and cite that source. And one thing I want to just remind you of, if there is a page, or in this case for the project, there's a slide requirement. In some other assignments, there's a page requirement. Any kind of requirement does not include a title or a reference page, because that's not content. That's just formatting. So that does not count as content at all. So if you wrote, if you're told to write a 4-page paper, and you give me a 4-page paper with just 2 pages of content, that's 50% around then, because that's not enough. That's not enough content that was required. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. Otherwise, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know, and I'll be happy to help you, and I apologize. Hopefully next week I'll be able to speak more clearly. Thank you, and have a great week.